going 4.5 mile an hour, and it was so hard to pull. It was so compacted. I just think there's so many winds with no-till that simple way of farming. Well, I think you want to set yourself up that you know you're going to get the seed in. If you were going to go and plant corn with just a standard corn planter, you might get along better in green versus bare, hard ground.
Hello and welcome to our seeding equipment series. What we're doing is going around the province talking to different producers that have different planter equipment, have been buying or refurbishing equipment, and talking about the thought process that you need to go through to make sure that you're making the right decisions, especially in light of how costly farm equipment is these days. And so we're here at Hunco Farms near Port Hope with Jason and Kevin, and we're going to talk about the equipment that they have to work in their no-till system. And so if one of you can talk about who's involved in the business, and the other can talk about the history to the no-till.
Yeah, I'm Jason. I've worked here for be 25 years next year. Kevin, he's worked here for pushing 40 years. And then we have another guy, Phil, he's worked here for a year and a half. Kevin's brother helps us with the grain buggy. And if we can find a guy to truck, we do. My son helped this spring, or sorry, in the summertime with wheat running the buggy. So we do get a little bit of extra help, but most of the daily goings on is the three of us.
Guys, can you talk about what your seeding equipment is and which one of the planters does what with the crops?
Well, we have a 16-row 3605 Kinzie corn planter.
Brand new this past year.
Yeah, this spring it was new. Hydraulic downforce on it, row shut off or 2-row shutoffs on it. Allari fertilizer, dry fertilizer openers on it, the heavy duty ones, trash whippers, and we use the Yetter twister closing wheels on the back.
And that is only planting corn.
Yes.
And then what plants the rest of the crops then?
We have a N540 John Deere air seeder, central fill air seeder, 40 foot. And it does the corn or the soybeans, the wheat, and the cover crops.
And is it also part of the fertilizer application equipment on the farm?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Because some guys are actually using their drills to manage getting their fertilizer in their no-till system into the ground as opposed to broadcasting it. Have you guys been using it in that manner?
No, we still dry broadcast fertilizer on. The corn planter has dry fertilizer on it, so and the bean planter, we don't put liquid down with the soybeans, but we do put liquid down with the wheat.
Your business is a little different in that you work for another gentleman that owns the farm and is not that active in it. But I imagine when you want to go and replace a piece of equipment, you have to sort of justify that to Don and have a good conversation. So what is the thought process here at Hunco that you guys use in determining when and what to replace a planting equipment with?
Well, we just go to Don and ask him, like, we have to replace all this on a wore out planter, like this corn planter, for instance. We wanted to go to down pressure, hydraulic down pressure, because we were just running springs and it needed to be completely rebuilt, needed all new blades and a lot of stuff, like the fertilizer and the openers were wore out. And when we priced all that, he wasn't really willing to spend that much money on a old planter, so that was the reason for buying a new one, because to upgrade it with hydraulic down pressure and everything was going to be a lot of money. So
can we talk about, as you change to new equipment, especially on planting side, you often go larger, and so other pieces of the system that sort of feed that planter or that feed off that planter need to sort of adapt. So as you buy new equipment, what are the other parts of the operation that you have to be thinking about and maybe even have to come into a change with the purchase of that new piece of equipment?
Well, manpower was a bit of it, I guess. That's why we have bigger equipment. You can get timing seems to be crucial. You seem to have a very short window in the spring to get stuff done. And with bigger equipment, you can get a lot more done in a hurry. Or not a hurry, but you can get a lot more done per day.
Per day.
We've kind of matched up our two planters are both 40 feet with that RTK to plant between rows. Having match planters helps a lot with that. The sprayer being 120 feet now matches that, matches with those planters as well, like in the multiples.
How about the combine headers?
They're 30 foot, so they also match up kind of with that 120, or with that, like they're pass wise, they average out, right?
Okay. We talked about this in the no-till video, but it's important to bring up here. Are you speccing out the same planter for your no-till system that you think you would have to spec out for a conventional system? Or is there, you got to spend more money, you got to have a more robust planter? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we wouldn't need near as much downforce or any of that if we were still working the ground. But the drill part of it, I don't think would be. It's too heavy duty to work on work ground. A lot of guys do it, but I think it's it would be just overkill.
Okay. And then Kevin, just to the point from the no-till video is you're planting green and you say it just plants so nicely when you hit that perfect timing. And yet you're saying that the no-till planter needs to be tougher, but it almost sounds like a bit of an oxymoron. So it's when you're planting that green planted, it works well because you've got this planter to go through it. It might not plant as well in a conventional planter trying to plant into that optimum green.
Well, I think you want to set yourself up that you're going to get the seed in the ground.
Okay.
But if you were going to go and plant corn with just a standard corn planter, you might get along better in green versus bare, hard ground. Yeah.
And when you're planting green, are you trying to get the fertilizer coulters and the openers below the thatch layer of the cover crops or the residue?
Yes, we're trying to get the fertilizer we want it down below the seed if we can. Yeah.
I talk about the fact that, the basic planter you need has got to have the must-haves to make it work. And then we'll talk about the nice-to-haves. So in terms of Hunco Farms and what you guys are trying to accomplish, and what are the must-haves that you needed to have as part of this new planter?
Hydraulic downforce was a huge thing.
And have you seen a big change in this planter relative to the old planter in terms of that?
Well, yeah, follow, like if you watch behind it, the rows stay. They don't, where the other one, they seem to bounce. It does keep it in the ground far better for sure.
Okay.
Seed firmers and trash whippers. We have the exact springs on the seed firmers, mojo wires, I think they're called. So
Just to hold that seed firmer tight.
Okay, so it doesn't bounce.
Closing wheels are big.
mm-hmm.
Closing that trench, especially with that root system to get that tight.
Okay.
Or not tight, but like get it closed.
Yep. And have you tried different ones and found the ones that you think work the best in your operation?
Yeah, our old planter, we had a curvatine that worked really good on really dry ground, and it worked good in like bean stubble, but as soon as it got wet, it didn't seem to work. But it was a rubber tire on one side and a curvatine on the other. And we were going to try 2 curvatines, and we're at the dealer and he handed us these 2 twisters and he said, try them. And so we put them on the middle, and that was in 2019 when it was so wet. And the middle 2 rows when we side dressed corn that year were complete through all the hollows where some of the other spots hadn't filled in and we lost some population there. But then 2 rows that had that twister were all there. And
So then if money was unlimited and you really liked gadgets or other pieces of kit, as the Europeans or the UK guys would say, what would be the nice to haves that you don't have but that you think would make a difference?
Bigger tires if it was available. Yeah, this one has electric roll shutoffs. Just does 2 rows at a time,
Okay.
which is big, where the other one was just half width. So there is the odd field, well, not the odd, pretty well every field where you may drive from one end to the other where you only need 2 rows or 3, 4 rows, or where you had to use half. Section control is big.
And so is that a must-have or a nice-to-have then, Jason?
I would say it's a must-have now.
monitoring, I guess you can always have, it's nice to have good monitoring so you know everything's working. Like a soil sense or the moisture sense, that would be kind of neat, but it might be just something that scares you if you are planting through one little spot of a field that's too wet. And if you didn't notice it, but it told you that, it just something to scratch at the back of your brain at night.
So then we're going to move into the walk around of the planter and the drill and have a look at them. And so we'll get to that. Jason and Kevin are now going to walk us around their new Kinzie planter and talk about the different features and why they have made this choice relative to the no-till part of their system. Or they are no-till completely, so why this planter fits in that. So go ahead, guys.
I guess we went to these Allari fertilizer openers because they're good and tough, and we can get our fertilizer in as deep as we can where we want to put it. And we had them on our previous planter and they worked really well for us.
And why individual fertilizer boxes?
Just to keep the weight spread out across the planter is the main reason. Yeah, central fill stuff's nice, but then to go dry fertilizer, I guess you got to pull a wagon behind you or a cart, I guess, is behind you.
We still, all of our corn is still bag corn too. We don't run any pro boxes, so individual row units work fine for us.
We have these floating row cleaners. Just they seem to work fairly good. On our previous planter, we went to the shark tooth blades, and that really helped in the planting green part. We find that where we're planting into the rye, as long as that corn plant can't touch the rye, it doesn't seem to affect it any. But if it's growing with it and the rye is touching the corn, there is some holdback there.
And this is something a lot of people have been scared off of rye for, but you're finding that that's all it takes to make it work.
Yeah, just keep that row cleaned away from the rye, and it doesn't seem to have that toxicity or whatever it is. There is something, I know a lot of it's just the nitrogen take up, and the rye there's none available for the corn, but there's still, when that rye touches a corn plant, there is a little bit of holdback at the start. But in 2017 or 17, we planted a field at east of here that was as high as the hood of the tractor, the rye was, and it was in head. The turnips had went to seed or went to flower, and we got 5 inches of rain that night, 4 3/4 inches of rain, and it was wet to start with, so we couldn't get that sprayed. And that corn was at 2 leaf when we finally burned it off. And to this date, that's the best field of corn we've ever grown.
Good grief. Amazing. Okay.
But we're afraid to try that again.
And these row cleaners, are they automatically adjustable, mechanically adjustable?
They're just floating. They're
Just floating completely.
Yeah, they just
Okay.
float.
Can you talk about the tires both on the wings and the center? Well, I guess there's no wings on this planter, right? So talk about the tires in terms of compaction and weight carrying.
Yeah, they're just the ones that come with the planter. I don't know whether maybe we should go to a VF tire or whatever, but
There's really not a lot of room for options tire wise anyway. I know like Steve Sickle, he's done some stuff with his Kinzie planter, and you can drop the pressures, I guess, but you don't. There's not a lot of room to make a wider tire.
It is a frustration I have with the North American manufacturers that they engineer it so that there's not a lot of room to put more rubber under the planters. And I think the Europeans have got something there that we need to catch up on here in North America. Okay, so let's talk about the row units on this planter.
I guess they're hydraulic downforce on these. This planter, our other planter was just springs. We run the Yetter twister on both sides for closing. We run Keaton seed firmers. And I don't know, we run it's called a Mojo wire from Exacta. We put them on the Keatons to keep it tight in the trench. This is the Mojo wire, they call it. So it just stiffens that, holds that down in the trench tight. It's hydraulic drive for seed, and it has electric row shutoffs 2 at a time for section control.
And I didn't notice whether it was single or double disc opener.
Double disc openers.
And the depth wheels are quite wide.
Yes.
Any thought to going to the narrower ones at all?
not on this.
Yeah.
We, for just planting corn, we've never had any problem with these ones. So, yeah, the seed firmer, the Keaton seed firmers. The first year we no-tilled corn on our own, we set up an old John Deere planter, and we didn't have them. And anywhere it was damp, we had a less population there. So we put these on. I think they were a big help. We've been planting 2.5 inches the last few years since, well, go to these things and they're all talking the cob size and all that, even emergence, sorry. And so we went to 2.5 on everything. We have a field this year that was just, it's not tiled perfect. It's a piece of rented ground. And when we got off where it's systematically tiled at that 2.5 inch, our population isn't quite as good as it should be. And I think we on some of that land, maybe we should come back up. It's heavy ground and it's just maybe a little bit too deep.
And in most of those acres where the 2.5 is working, is the emergence pretty uniform?
Yes.
Okay, so we're here talking about their drill, and guys, take it away.
Well, it's an N540C John Deere drill. It works really nice. It has a few issues that could be solved or fixed with it. We run the biggest tire we could get from Deere on it. They're okay, but they're not the best.
Yeah, a bigger tire would be definitely a big help. Mm-hmm.
How evenly is the weight distributed between front and back on this unit?
I think based off, like, we weighed it there last year, I think it was very close, I think, when it was full that day. I'm pretty sure that front to back, and the wings were even. The front wheels do caster on the main frame and the wings. They're walking beams on the center section, not the wings, but it is a terrible design by John Deere. It just flops in there. It sits crooked, so the tires tend to, they look like they tip in. But when you're planning with it, that walking beam just flops. It just constantly flops in there. And it doesn't matter whether you fill it full of grease or not, it constantly flops. When it came here, we looked at it and we thought, like, you've built walking beams on cultivators, machinery forever with roller bearings or tapered bearings in there. And then you come with this with just a shaft with a bushing in it. Well, it isn't even a bushing.
Yeah.
I guess it has 4 section control on it. So at every 10 feet. And you do need GPS. You cannot run this without GPS. Electric drive, we'll get to that at the back. We run the narrow gauge wheels on it, just mainly for planting our beans in between the corn rows.
Yeah, just
to get, so you're not tramping on those rows. But now that we've gone to twin 7.5-inch beans, it may be not as crucial to have them in there, but they are nice.
And so how did you make that change to the twins?
We got trying to plant 2 15-inch beans between a 30-inch corn row, and it didn't have to be off very much, and you'd get running right on the row. And that depth wheel run right on the row just lays the beans on top, and you will not get depth. These seed discs are wore on this. They are getting replaced before wheat this year. The front has a little bit of a beveled edge left on it, where the rear, the beveled edge is pretty well gone. So we will not plant wheat with it like this. It needs to be sharp to plant through that trash. These seem to wear, I don't know. A lot of guys say it's corn stalks, but we've been told by a few people that it's soybean stubble that is wrecking these wheels too. Because them little soybeans that are short are so tough, right?
mm-hmm.
Maybe we should look into like those plastic, like Needham wheels maybe would be better. The hard plastic, I'm not sure. These are just rubber. We run the spiked closing wheels on the rear. We like them better than the smooth ones.
Yeah, we had smooth ones on our old drill, and we went to the copperhead, and then John Deere's basically went to the same thing. So, and they did help a lot. Just in them days that's one part of doing these big fields is 95% of the field is ready, and there's 5% that we shouldn't be there. But you can't wait for that 5%. It's close, but it's not quite right. So stuff like that does help close the trench. And
it's electric drive. Like I said, electric, that's what the generator's for. Runs electric drive. There's 4 electric motors on it. So it does 4 section control. The beam does walk on the back as well, but it's the same as the front. It's just a poor design. It just flops in there. Really not happy with it. Feel it could be made a lot better. The tank is 120 bushel, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you can plant around 50-ish acres, I believe, if I remember right, of wheat with it, which is fine because the fertilizer is 300 gallons, so it'll plant 60 acres. So you fill seed, fill fertilizer both at the same time.
Is there an option on this planter that box can be split in half?
No.
So no? Okay. No. Is that something for the future in terms of being able to have more than one variety on tap in terms of variable?
I guess something would be neat if we could plant 2 different crops at once, like for our cover crop part, like these biostrips or whatever. That would be neat to do. But as far as
2 different varieties of seed, you just
mix them together. No.
It does it's extremely accurate, this drill. If you calibrate it when you fill it between seed variety changes, it is extremely accurate. It has scales on it. If you do that calibration, put that number in, and it says it's going to plant 50 acres, it'll plant 50 acres. It's the guessing part of that is gone now, which is very nice. You can bring it up, like if we run, everything here is Deere, so we run Operation Center, and I can dial in on my phone, do a remote display access, and I can see the display in the cab on my phone while I'm filling. So if I know I got 10 acres left to fill or plant, I can just see and run that and put 10 acres worth of seed in the drill and shut the auger off, rather than years before it looks like 10 acres and it was 20 work. If you break a Pro Box down in half, just the bottom half will slide in underneath here, and you just pop these down and take the meter out. And that just runs out.
Easy.
So yeah, if you were switching between varieties, say you were going from, because we have the Enlist stuff now, the Canva stuff, you want to switch back, if you wanted to switch back and forth, it's very simple.
So anything else, guys?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for taking the time to show us around the drill and the planter. We really appreciate that.
Yep.
So my next question to you, you've got the new planter, and then the drill is relatively recent as well. What were the game changers, were those two units that are the reason why they're sitting on this farm?
The section control on the seed drill was a big thing. Electric drive. They have a better downforce system on those new drills.
What did the new drill replace?
It was a 1990 drill before that, which is the same idea, but without the electric drive and the section control on it.
And when you think about the thought process that you have to go through, if the decision is to upgrade a planter because new ones are too expensive, where should you start? What are the things that are the first things you need to think about in terms of, this is why I need to replace that planter?
Wear is I guess, like as far as the seed drill, you can do a few things on it, but it starts getting costly once certain components really get wore out on it, right?
Can you talk about, in previous years where you had planters or things that you changed in planters, can you think about any mistakes that you made that you wish you hadn't gone there and that others might be able to learn from not going there?
On this planter here behind us, we didn't go with coulters in front of the row unit. We had that on our previous planters. We thought we had to do that little wee bit of a slot there, tillage slot or whatever, and we were a little leery whether we should go away from it, but I think it was a good choice, because that just was putting another thing on the ground that took away your down pressure. So
It's interesting to think about the early days of no-till and the innovative farmers, relatively small planters in those days. And every winter they were in the shop with more stuff being added to them. And now we've been sort of in no-till long enough. People seem to be trying to unweight them, take other gizmos off of these planters and strip them down. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
I guess a lot of guys used to, like first no-till guys would always like 3 coulters. You got to work that ground ahead of it, right?
It essentially was a tillage and a planting implement.
Yeah.
And you think that we were able to do this, take stuff off and lighten them up because the ground is in better shape from the no-till time?
Yeah, or it's experience too, right?
Yeah, I think
You'd learn from it.
It's just that fear of getting over having to see the ground work black, and it's I don't think each year you just plant and you don't worry about it anymore like you used to. The first time we planted into green, it scared us. first time we no-tilled, it scared us.
And when you had that first time experience, what percentage of the acres, like you didn't devote everything to that right away, did you? Or did you go cold turkey?
No, like the first time we no-tilled, it was, like I say, 35 acres out of, and then corn was, that same field was the first time we did corn, and we were leery on that, but and then with planting green, we started at a couple hundred acres, and that didn't bother us either. So, and maybe we were just lucky and hit it on good years.
Okay. So after that first experience, how long did it take you to throw everything into green?
I think we did 200 acres in 2015 of our wheat, and then the whole, whatever we were, 900 to 1,000 acres completely done the next year with all cover crop.
And no, like it just worked for you.
It worked for us. Yeah.
Very good. So it, as I said to you a little earlier, I've had people saying to me that the price of farm equipment has taken a bit of the fun out of farming. And so things are expensive and the decision making is much harder. Do you guys have any advice to people on what they need to be thinking about as they replace seeding equipment?
I guess we've thought about a drill with a cart instead of the central fill, which would give you bigger tire options to help with the compaction issue. But some of our hills and stuff, we were worried that that the cart might get pushed in the drill too. And there's not a lot of ground like that, but there's enough ground that if it did push it sideways, it could be a very costly mess.
Yep.
So we've stuck with the CCS. A lot of guys say you're crazy to have CCS because of the weight and stuff, but
but again, you're not working ground. You got as much rubber as you can get on it,
and we wait,
and you're patient.
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay. So relatively recent purchases on both the drill and the corn planter. Anything next in the planting department that is going to support what you guys are trying to do with your system as a whole?
I guess maybe explore the option of that the trash whipper.
Yeah, row cleaning
thing. Yeah.
So this is a unit that's built by a farm family in Quebec, and you can get them in 6 to 24 row configurations, essentially 2 sets of row cleaners stacked behind and apart from each other. And talk about how your experience when you went and saw it working with the honeys.
Yeah, I think them days where you're just planting through that areas where the buggies run and it's got the corn stalks packed down really tight to the ground, and it's always wet under there, and you can tell that. And there's just certain varieties of corn, there's so much trash there that it would be nice to have that just pushed off to the side a bit so you know that you're getting down there. But
so it's not a tillage piece, Kevin, really. It's just it's clearing the residue.
Yes.
And so that clearing the residue gets you a little bit more sunlight to dry that out that you're talking about.
Yeah, a little bit more sunlight, and we could likely cut our soybean seeding population back if we knew that we were on the ground all the time. Yeah.
Very good. Well, that brings us to the end, and I just want to say thank you to Kevin and Jason and Phil for letting me team up with them the last couple of summers to understand their operation and get lots of good video and image of the operation. And I'm just asking you guys if you're open to people contacting you if they've got questions about what you're doing and the decisions you've been making and helping them make those decisions.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate you being part of this.
Thank you.